Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I'm going to be playing a little Star Wars arcade here. This is the one that comes on the Star Wars Rebel Strike game for the GameCube. You can put in a special code. Oh, I guess I should shoot these guys. You can put in a special code and you can play the arcade originals, which is awesome. Only problem is, as much as I enjoy this, it's a little clunky and kludgy. The thumbstick on the GameCube controller wants to keep recentering, so while you're trying to do stuff in the edges, you know, trying to shoot up here or go down here or whatever, if you take your finger off, it kind of always recenters all the time, which is not terrible, but it does kind of, it's distracting. It's not like the yoke controller of the original arcade machine. Now, I've been looking at the arcade 1-up that's out there, which has a yoke controller and is apparently really awesome. Oh, let's see if I can get this. You're kidding me, I missed. That's because I'm actually trying to just talk here. But yeah, the arcade 1-up controller, or arcade cabinet, I thought when that came out, ooh, that's a pretty compelling sort of case model of, you know, that's something you can't recreate at home, so maybe I want to get that, but I don't really... I actually saw it. Hang on. There we go. I actually saw the arcade 1-up machine in a local store, and I just thought to myself, well, there it is. Why don't you pick it up? You sort of want it. You're a Star Wars fan, whatever. But I didn't, and I think it's because I've got it here in this home experience. I don't really feel the need to get the Star Wars arcade machine. I mean, plus space is always a factor. The only reason I would ever get one of those arcade 1-ups is that if it allowed me to do something I can't do, because I have a main machine already, so I don't really need to buy one that plays Pac-Man or any of the classics. I've got that already in my home experience. But there are certain types of games that you can't really recreate at home, things with custom controllers, especially driving games. Anybody who works for Arcade 1-Up, please release one that actually has a steering wheel on it. Now, you would have thought, well, wait a minute, what about this one with the yoke controller? Surely that fulfills your requirement. You're a Star Wars fan. Why don't you get the arcade one, the Arcade 1-Up Star Wars game? Couple of reasons in addition to space and size, and I've already got this thing, so why would I want to? Is Cool Toy did a really good review when that machine came out last October, and the guy on there was saying that one thing that he really noticed, as much as he loved that arcade 1-up machine, he noticed that anytime you got hit or damaged, like I just did, the screen would flash weirdly in a way that was distracting and not a lot of fun. And he really didn't like that. That was one thing, and I remember looking at the flash of the screen, I thought, oh, that's no good for me either. But he reached out to the Arcade 1-Up folks, and they said that was actually in the original arcade machine, just most emulating versions of it don't replicate that flash properly. That's in the original code, so it's more authentic than the stuff you've seen in MAME or whatever, or like this GameCube version. Now, what I'm thinking to myself is, okay, that means I've actually got the version of Star Wars that I want. This is it right here, the GameCube one. It's pretty good. I've already got it. It doesn't do the flash thing. I think they must have, who is it who does this? Factor 5? When they released this, they must have made it in a way that was actually not going to be distracting. Maybe they removed that code that did the flash, or maybe they were using some kind of an emulator that didn't have that flash going on. So it's not something that, you know, I've got the Star Wars game that I want to play. Just too bad about this self-centering thumbstick, because that wrecks the experience to a degree. But recently, to shout out another great YouTuber, my good old buddy Steve over at Wired Up Retro talked about how you can hook up different kinds of control solutions to be able to play this in a way that's a lot closer to the old yoke experience, what it feels like to be using a yoke controller. One of which he had mentioned, I'm going to get it right this time. There we go. One of which he had mentioned is, ironically, a PlayStation controller. And when I saw that, did a little bit of research, and I thought to myself, maybe that's going to be my solution. And here it is right here. Let's unbox it and check it out. So what is this, you ask? Well, it's actually the Psyclone movement controller, or I can't remember the exact name for it, but basically it's the it's a tilting controller. It uses sort of the movement of your hands. There we go. Tiltsense. Sorry, my mistake. The Tiltsense Psyclone Essential controller for the PlayStation 1. I don't know if can you make it that lenticular? Not too well. Anyway, it's got a neat little lenticular thing here that's sort of showing movement. Yeah, I think it's doing it. Basically, you tilt this thing and it moves in a kind of a tilty thing for your PlayStation 2. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's not going to help your situation. Ah, just you wait. First of all, let's check this thing out. There we go. Yeah, so you can see there, you tilt it in different directions. And it will, let's see, we got the instructions. Wow, this thing really was complete in box. Okay. Let's see. There we go. All right. Ugh, it needs a bit of a clean. You can see it's a bit worn on the edges there. And it's got that stickiness of old rubber. However, this thing apparently will allow me to tilt a PlayStation 2 game. Which is fine, you repeat, but you're not using a PlayStation 2, you're using a GameCube. What the heck are you going to do about that? That's neat. See, we got a little thing here. I guess that's to lock off, this is the motion of the tilt, which is what I want. I want to basically use this thing for tilting the control, like I saw done with Wired Up Retro's video. I want to be able to use this to tilt my X-Wing in the Star Wars game, because I think that'll feel a little bit more like the arcade original. It's not perfect. It's not a proper, you know, yoke controller, but this might work as kind of a solution in between. So once again, the audience says, but you still got the problem of you're using a GameCube. How is that PS2 controller going to help? Well, for quite a long time now, I've actually had this thing, which I was going to use in a video for my previous solution to Star Wars. But since this has actually turned out to be a better idea, I'm going to use it here. What this is a PSX PS2 to GameCube adapter. So it takes a GameCube controller in there, and it plugs into, it takes a PlayStation connector in there, and it turns it into a GameCube controller. This thing totally works. I've actually used this several times with what was going to be my other solution until this suggestion came along. And this does work really, really well. So what I'm basically going to do is just take the new Psyclone that we got, Tiltsense controller, okay, and plug this thing in right into here. And then I'm going to plug that into the GameCube port. Let's try it out. Okay, it's all hooked up. The light is on the little adapter down there. So let's see. I mean, luckily it's just tilt control and one button. So it's not like any of these other things are going to be a factor. It's a little sticky though. But anyway, let's give this a try. Does that work? Does that work? Does that work? How about that? Start. Ooh, okay, I just turned on a light. Now what? Does that work? Gotta figure out which one will launch it. Oh no, I don't think it's gonna work. Why is that not working? Okay, we got something. Okay, the D-pad works. Good, all right. Let's try it again. There we go. I don't know what happened there. Okay, why are you not tilting? Do I go to mode? Do I try that? Do I try that? No. I'm not sure how you enable this thing. Oh, oh no! That is not going to work. Oh, okay, so it is still using that. So how do you turn on tilt? How do you enable the tilt in this? Oh, okay, that pauses it. Let's end game. Okay, so back to the menu. How do you enable the tilt? Oh! Tiltsense on off. Duh. Okay, yeah, I will hit the button to enable Tiltsense. That'll do it. Now we have another light. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, and you can actually use that for your shooting. Maybe I'll try that button. That's a little bit better. Now, this does feel like at least it stays in the corners better. Okay. Yeah, you know what? This is actually pretty close. It's going to take some getting used to. I wonder if I can use a different button for shooting. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. You know, it has a little bit of a weird dead zone. Maybe there's a way to adjust that. Although I doubt it, because this is designed for PS2, going into a GameCube, well, going into a Wii, which is emulating a GameCube. So we're kind of doing a whole bunch of different stuff here, but it does sort of work. I wonder if you could calibrate it in some way. I will check the instructions, but let's have another go. Now that I've... Like, it does side to side, up and down relatively well, and stays in the corners. And the nice thing is, it does actually stick with where you keep it. Like, there's no pull back toward the center of the screen. So this feels a lot more like the yoke controller. Look, okay. I should actually concentrate on the game here. But it's closer. It could do with a little tightening, just a little bit more. You know, it's jittery to a degree, but at least it's, yeah, it feels more like I'm flying the aircraft here, the spacecraft. And if I could just tighten the sensitivity a hair. But again, we're using this on a PS2 controller through an adapter onto a GameCube game that's running on a Wii, and this is probably going too far beyond what the designers had reckoned was going to happen. But it's close. Like it's doing a decent job here. Let's see, maybe I'll use my thumb instead for shooting, because using the trigger was also throwing off my movement. Yeah, pretty close, pretty close. All right. Yeah, I am liking it. Sort of works. Yeah, let me just check and see if you can actually calibrate this to be a little tighter. Well, unfortunately I had a look. Now this thing has some cool features. You can program macros in here, so it'll do a button combo for you, but it does not have the ability to adjust the sensitivity of these shots. You'll notice I'm now playing Empire Strikes Back. Also on the GameCube, along with Return of the Jedi. So you see, I don't really need that arcade one-up machine. I can play it this way, and this is working pretty decently. It might take a little learning to get the hang of it, but it's close. It feels like those like that controller. Ooh, how would I fire the tow cables? Hang on, because there was a separate button for that, wasn't there? Can I do it? Oh, there we go. Just another button. The square in this case. Okay. And again, the nice thing is, It doesn't have that flash that Cool Toy mentioned. That was really a problem for me. Oh, we're going to go through the asteroids. Okay, this will be a good test. Hang on. First of all, let's take on the TIE fighters. And then we'll try the asteroid field. That'll be a good test overall of the tilt sensitivity. But this is not too bad. Like, this works in a way that I prefer over the GameCube controller. Because, again, it just keeps wanting to recenter. And that's a problem. Whereas this thing, I can kind of point it, you know, like the yoke controller, and it'll work to a degree. Okay, let's avoid these. Can I do it? If I can do this, then I'm going to give it a thumb up. Oh dear. Okay, hit 1. Hit 2. And... only 2. You know what? I'm going to give it a pretty good review. I think this solution does work. So, yeah, I like that. Big thumbs up to Wired Up Retro for even telling me this thing existed so that I could make this solution. And also a big thumb up to Cool Toy for pointing out that that flash on the arcade 1-up machine would have, I think, been a distraction, and I don't think I would have liked it. The GameCube version does not have that. And I think as long as I can wrap my head around how to use this tilty controller, I'm actually going to be okay with this. Let's take one of you down, if I can. Oh, yes, got him. Haha. Ah, game over. Okay. Yeah, I like it. I think it's going to work as a solution. It's not perfect, but you know what? I'll take it. And until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.